So what you're seeing on the screen right now is roughly 1400 bullets being fired every second with the game running at 60 frames per second. No stuttering and no lag spikes. But how? Hey guys, so me and my team are making a physics-based FPS game, and in this video I'm gonna talk about all the various tricks and methods we used to take our game from running like a PowerPoint presentation to a buttery smooth performance. So our game is simply chaotic. There is a lot of moving objects, enemies left and right, and explosions everywhere, so for our game to handle all of this, optimization was a #1 priority. However, the one thing we refused to cut down on is projectiles, and there is a lot of them. In many games, like for example Counter-Strike, Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress 2 or GTA games, all have quote-unquote real weapons. In real life, most weapons fire so fast you can't even see the bullets being fired. Now, why is this important? Well, because you cannot see the bullet, developers often don't bother simulating them to save performance. In such games, the moment you fire a weapon, you instantly hit a target. This is often called hit scan projectile, and in most cases it works great. But this only works if the projectiles are completely invisible. Our game is set in a sci-fi world, and when you have a weapon that's literally called plasma gun, you kind of expect to see something like this. So if our game cannot use hit scan projectiles, how do we deal with this? Well, one option is to treat each projectile as a physical object that is created each time you fire a weapon. This is actually how our game handled projectiles at first, and honestly, it worked great. Or at least, it seemed like it. When I started testing the game, it ran at like 15 frames per second. And all of this is because of something called... Basically, our game is multiplayer, and every single one of those bullets had to be sent over the network for other players to see. But when there is hundreds of bullets constantly being sent, it completely tanks the performance of the whole game. This is thanks to something called network bandwidth. To put it simply, network bandwidth is kind of like a door into a building. If someone wants to get into the building, they must first go through the door, but if there is too many people trying to go through the same door, it will create blockages. In our game, bullets were like those people trying to go through the door. The problem is there was way too many of them. So how did we solve this issue? How did we go from our game barely clinging to life to being able to handle thousands of projectiles with no problems? Well, I live by the words fake it if you can't make it. All those bullets you see, yeah, they're completely fake. Now, before you start saying how disappointed you are, trust me, it's for the better. When you fire a weapon, you can still see bullets being fired, only these bullets are purely visual. They don't do anything. The real magic happens on the server. The server doesn't treat bullets like physical objects, instead it simulates them. If you think about it, all you need to know is the starting position, direction and velocity of a bullet, and you can accurately predict where a bullet will be at a certain time. Basically, we've reduced a whole object into just few numbers. That's the reason why this approach is lightning fast and causes little to no performance hit. Now, bullets were only one of the things that needed to be optimized to run fast, but there was a bigger issue: grenades. At first, the way grenades worked in our game was pretty standard. You pick up a grenade, you throw it, this creates a physical object in the world with momentum and velocity, and then they explode. I never tried optimizing grenades that much because I knew there is never gonna be a situation where there are too many of them in the world at the same time. Well, that all changed when we added this enemy into our game. This enemy is called Striderbot, and one of his attacks is throwing grenades. Except he doesn't throw one. No, he throws 4 every second. That's a lot. Even more when there is like 2 or 3 of them at the same time. So what did we do? I tried using the same logic we used for projectiles to simulate their movement using math. The problem is projectiles are linear, grenades are not. They can bounce off floors, walls or anything in any direction, which makes them very unpredictable. So we needed something more sophisticated. Fortunately, with a quick Google search, I found that all I need is this simple equation. To put it simply, this allows us to get a position of an object at any time, which is exactly what I was looking for. Of course, actually implementing this into our game was a bit more difficult and I ran into a few problems, but eventually I got it working perfectly. And now we can even have a whole fountain of grenades with no performance issues.
By the way, this took a long time to make, so please subscribe.
Anyway, pretty much everything works flawlessly now, except one thing. Since we started working on the game, enemies had many problems, but one problem was persistent. Turrets. Every enemy in our game has them, and it's what they use to attack players. However, to target players they need to rotate to face them, and this simple act of rotation is what caused huge performance issues. They would often take half of the available network bandwidth, and I'm talking purely just turrets. At first, I tried rotating turrets through a script, but using C-frames is too expensive. I tried using animation rigs, also too expensive. I tried using a few mechanical constraints, too expensive. I even tried using things like align orientation, but no. At this point, I started to realize I was running out of options. I was looking for a solution that would allow me to have many turrets with minimal performance hit, but none seemed to work. But then, out of nowhere, I had a light bulb moment. Instead of running the turret logic on the server, why not run the logic locally and have players do the work? And then the server would just try to estimate where the turret is looking. Even though this solution wasn't ideal, it solved everything. Kind of. The performance hit was now minimal, but if you remember, I said the word estimate. Since the turret logic was in the hands of the players now, the server didn't have the most up-to-date information, which means the server could only guess where to fire a projectile, and it wasn't synced with the rotation. This sometimes resulted in situations like this, where you can see the turret is facing a completely wrong direction. This wasn't great, but unfortunately I didn't have another option, so this is how turrets worked for a long time. But then, out of nowhere, a perfect solution emerged. In Roblox, there is something called IK control. It's what allows you to easily make procedural animations on your characters. Our game uses this a lot, but what I haven't noticed before is that one of the modes on the IK control is called look at, which rotates a part to face a target. When I found this out, I immediately started testing this, and to my surprise, not only does it work exactly how I want it, but it also causes no performance issues. Like, all of this runs on the server, by the way. All of this is real, nothing is fake. If I had known this earlier, this would have saved me so much time. Well, I mean, if there's anyone watching this video that wants to make a lot of turrets, I guess this is how you do it. Now, just to clarify, there are more optimizations with it, especially with the enemies and how they work, but that's for another video. Also, if you'd like to know more about the game we're working on, you can click this video here. Trust me, you'll love it. Anyways, that's all. Thanks for watching and see you next time.